Could there be another 5-star to watch for?
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this Thursday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my 5th year covering the University of Louisville, 3rd year hosting this show. And I want to take the time to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week. Your team every day. We are conducting another weekly mailbag on the show today. 8 total questions surrounding whether or not there's a new 5-star to watch for in the 2026 class, the takeaways from the Pat Kelsey press conference on Wednesday, who has been standing out for the summer men's basketball workouts. There are some football questions, a baseball question, a lot of great stuff to talk about on the show today. Thank you all for submitting your questions. I'm going to answer them, of course, to the best of my abilities. 2 questions in the first segment, 3 in the second and third segments, respectively. So let's start on the men's basketball side of things. Of course, the Cardinals are continuing to recruit the best of the best in the 2026 class. But we've continued to hear about more and more new names, especially at that wing spot. And the first question is, could 5-star Abdou Toure be a new name to watch for in the 2026 class for the Cardinals? And how serious do you think the Cardinals are going to get? So, very good question. Abdou Toure, 6'5", 185-pound small forward from West Haven, Connecticut, plays for Notre Dame High School, is ranked as the 24th best player in the country according to the 24/7 Sports Composite, 11th best small forward, and number 1 player in the state of Connecticut. He has been linked with the Louisville Cardinals over, I would say, at the very least over the past month. There was an article from 24/7 Sports at the end of June that Toure admitted that Louisville was firmly in the mix. And combine that with the recent articles, whether it's from Louisville's 24/7 sports site Cardinal Authority, whether it is, I think, Louisville Sports Illustrated site, it's become pretty clear that Toure has interest in visiting the Cardinals at some point this fall. Not sure when a decision would necessarily come, but the fact that he wants to visit, Louisville has shown interest. You have to at least watch out for this name. The thing for me is, when you're asking me how likely is it that the Cardinals get seriously involved, the truth is that I don't necessarily know the priority order, right? I mean, we know that Tyran Stokes is at the top. We know that guys like Taylen Kinney and Deron Rippey Jr. are close to the top. But in the front court, like those wing spots, that's kind of where I'm just waiting to see who gets prioritized. I mean, it could be a situation to where whoever is ready to commit first, that's who the Cardinals are going to take. Like if Louisville has a couple of guys that they've circled as being players that they want to prioritize, and whoever commits first gets that scholarship, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm okay with that. Jamie Shaw he's from Rivals, yes. He put out an article a couple days ago saying where things stood with Arkansas, Louisville, UConn, Providence, Oregon, and Utah. Did I say Utah already? Maybe I did. Oh, well. And then last month, Deshaun London from 24/7 Sports included Louisville with UConn, Providence, and Arkansas. So it's pretty clear that the Cardinals are involved. And it seems like they are seriously involved as well. But just kind of goes to beg the question, well, who are they really, really wanting in this class. Is it a first come, first serve? Is it, well, we're going to kind of wait in terms of actively pursuing this guy really heavily until we hear from this player? And that's kind of a dangerous way to approach it, because you could be left with zero of those players. But I think that the Cardinals are very involved here. Toure, as a player, I mean, you watch him and he's just completely disruptive on the defensive end. I think that, from a physicality standpoint, 6'5", 185 pounds, has a 6'8" wingspan, according to Adam Finkelstein of 24/7 Sports, the director of scouting. I'm looking at this excerpt from the scouting report that he had. Toure is a powerful athlete on the wing who is an absolute wrecking ball going to the rim. He's dynamic in the open floor, has a good first step in the half court, and can bully his way through contact like few others in this class. He's a truly explosive leaper who rises up with extreme quickness and power. While he can be physically dominant, his ball skills and overall feel for the game have shown consistent growth as well. His three ball, which is more of a set shot, remains more of a work in progress. And I think that in this offense, that's something that I'm looking to see improve more and more, is that perimeter shot. But it seems that he has all the other tools to be able to find his way onto the court, even if that three-point shot only becomes serviceable at the college level. So I do think that Louisville, and I mean, Abdou Toure is a name to watch in the front court for the Louisville Cardinals. Will Louisville land all three of Tyran Stokes, Taylen Kinney, and Deron Rippey Jr.? I don't think so. Is there a possibility? Is there a reality out there where that could happen? Yeah, of course. But, I mean, that's sort of a best case scenario. I could see a world like, if you tell me that the question is, will Louisville land two of the three? Then I'm like, yeah, I think that could happen. I think that could happen. But all three of them, Stokes, it depends on how much of a budget you have allocated for the high school recruiting ranks, because it seems like, you are going to take like 3 to 5 players depending on the level of guy that you get. Tyran Stokes is going to cost a good amount. You're probably going to need Adidas to come in and help with some of that. Taylen Kinney, I think he's probably the most likely to commit out of anyone in the class so far. And I know that the Cardinals are going after multiple guards. Kinney and Rippy both can excel on and off ball, but it's a question of, will both of these guys commit to the same program? Like, yeah, you might think it could work for the players, but if the players don't think it could work, then that's where it gets a little bit interesting. I would love to see a backcourt with both of these guys in it, but I just don't know that it's going to happen. And you combine that with also 100% bringing in Tyran Stokes. Like, I think it's more likely that you go out and get Taylen Kinney and more of a combo guard, and then maybe Tyran Stokes. But even then, I don't know. It just seems like, Deron Rippey has scheduled all these official visits for the late summer and the fall. Louisville is not receiving one at the time, so that kind of worries me. We know that Kentucky and North Carolina are really involved in this recruitment along with other schools. So just sort of in the wait and see approach. But for the sake of this mailbag on July 17th, do I think the Cardinals are going to land all three? I don't. However, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think that they land two of the three. So, but 3 of 3 would probably be best case scenario in my opinion. But don't go anywhere. We've got 3 more basketball questions, and I thought that Pat Kelsey press conference, there were some good things that he said that I thought were notable, and we're going to discuss what those were when we come back on this Thursday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. But first, I want to take the time to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Summer sports are in the full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights or golf on the green, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, guys. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach and out in the sun. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. You best believe with the way that he's playing, Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh is going to be included 100% in my home run parlays. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. All you have to do, open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Card Nation, thanks again for making us your first listen of the day through the month of July. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services. 5 days a week, your team every day. Continuing along in the basketball portion of the weekly mailbag, the questions that you all have asked, 2 of the questions answered. We got 3 more coming up here through the second segment. What stood out the most in Pat Kelsey's summer press conference on Wednesday? Well, I think that we have to be honest with what we're trying to get out of a press conference, especially in the summer. It's kind of like last year's press conference. It's one of those like feel good things. You like to hear what Pat Kelsey has to say. You like to hear what Michael Brown Jr., Ali Khalifa, and the rest of the guys have to say. But the reality is that there's not going to be a ton of substance that you're going to take away that's going to be truly revealing or mind-boggling. I mean, there are some things that he said that like they made me excited to hear. Some things that I thought were interesting. You're like, huh, okay. A couple things in particular from a personnel standpoint, you're not really going to hear much there, but I think the way that he raves about Ali Khalifa and Kobe Rogers, the guys that redshirted last year, talking about Khalifa as an extension of the coaching staff, being able to help all of the other front court guys. And now he's going to be able to come, or he's going to be able to play. He's going to come on the court. He's going to play. He's going to be one of the best passing big men in the country, according to Pat Kelsey. And then you have Kobe Rogers, who Kelsey, you can just tell he loves. Brought him from the College of Charleston, had that injury in the 2024 tournament, so he's fully healthy now, coming off of that ACL tear. He's ready to go. And I think that after hearing Pat Kelsey talk about him and talk about Khalifa, I mean, these are 2 guys that they're going to play key roles. Now, what did those roles look like? That is to be determined. But they're going to play key roles. Especially Kobe Rogers. I don't think he's going to be one of those end of the rotation plays like 5 minutes a game. Like with the way that PK talks about him, with the way that Chucky Hepburn, Peyton Siva, like everyone talks about Kobe Rogers, even with the guys that you're bringing in, Kobe's going to have his role in the team. Something else that I thought was pretty interesting was you hear the rationale about why Louisville scheduled such a tough non-conference. And Pat Kelsey admitted that he sought clarity after the season. It's like, okay, why did this happen? Why did we have as good of a season as we did? And why did we get an 8 seed? And he talked to multiple people, but he ended up mentioning a conversation that he had with the tournament chairman, Bubba Cunningham from North Carolina, and said that, you get into a room with all these people and like the human aspect of it takes over. Like, somebody might prioritize the Ken Palm rankings more. Some might prioritize the net rankings more. And I'm like, it's understandable, but it's also kind of frustrating because you're like, isn't that why we brought the net rankings into the discussion anyway, to sort of eliminate that? And also, I thought it was absolutely hilarious that Bubba Cunningham was trying to rationalize as to why Louisville got an 8 seed and just the whole situation with North Carolina, and they had no reason being in the tournament, but oh well, it is what it is. Those are the things that I took away the most from the press conference. It was a feel-good press conference, right? You can tell that Pat Kelsey really, really loves and enjoys this team. That there was such an emphasis on roster construction, bringing in guys that bought into what the culture is. It's awesome to hear. Who has been standing out the most in the summer runs? This is another thing. It's kind of hard to tell because you don't want to take too much from these runs. I mean, they're pickup runs. These are guys that are, playing in the Cuber Center that are, playing together for the first time. It's summer ball, so it is what it is. But from what I've seen and from what I've heard, I'll start with Vangelis Zougris. From what I've heard is that this guy has one speed, and that is 150%. Like, he is go, 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 diving for loose balls, diving into tables. Like, I mean, this guy is full effort, full motor all the time. And I think that it just sort of confirms my idea that, he's going to find his way onto the court this season because of that effort and motor. I mean, 6'8", what was 240, 260. I forget what his weight is, but I mean, he's physically ready for the college game, and I think he's going to dominate in some aspect. Mouhamed Camara had that putback dunk. You've seen his athleticism and defense in these summer runs. Kenai Roots looks like he has sort of refined that jump shot a little bit, maybe a little bit of a higher release point, a little bit of a smoother mechanical form. He looks like he had some good moments in the summer runs. The reality is that I'm not there. I can only see the highlights of what's compiled and put out there on social media. Like, I don't get to see the full extent of the runs. I mean, Michael Brown Jr.'s had some great plays. Like, these guys have had great plays. Adrian Woolley, Ryan Conwell. This team is playing hard and competing in the summer runs, which is nice to see. But in terms of who's standing out, it's really just so hard to tell. I don't try to take too much away just by design. It's, you put yourself in a misleading spot when you do that. Final basketball question. Do you think the Cardinals should add another player? Of course, we had that episode early in the week about how Louisville was linked to Croatian 2025 recruit Ivan Bogdanovic, something that, we have to mention because Louisville's linked and it's pretty interesting. But Pat Kelsey was asked about adding another player. And of course, I'm paraphrasing here, but he did mention the phrase, for all intents and purposes, we're pretty much done in terms of having the guys that are going to play. Now, I mean, it wasn't like a for sure, like we're not going to add anyone else, but it was as close to that as you probably could get. So I imagine that conversation with Bogdanovic's camp was probably like, okay, what role are you looking for? Is there a monetary value that you're looking for? Is there any sort of buyout that we have to pay with SC Derby for your contract? And it was probably one of those situations to where maybe there was a phone call and that was it. But also, I mean, heck, it could be a guy that is a stash player. You bring them in, you stash them for next year, and it's true. Like, your rotation might be set, but doesn't mean you're done adding. But I mean, I don't think that Louisville adds anyone else. Do you think that they should? I mean, I always think that you should entertain bringing in as much help and talent as you can, but do they need to? I don't know that at the moment. I don't think that they do. So overall, the vibes are great. It's July 17th. I would caution everyone to, not get too high, not get too low. And sort of how that relates to what we're talking about now is I would just recommend everyone to take all of these summer workouts with a grain of salt, because they are just that. They're summer workouts. Now, when we get a little bit closer to the season, practices start holding more significance and holding more weight, of course. But I mean, right now, we haven't even started fall classes. That's not for another month. So great questions, though, on the basketball side. Thank you all for introducing those. When we come back, got a very interesting question that I think was brought up because of what Indiana did recently this week that has earned them a good amount of criticism. We'll answer it when we come back on this Thursday edition of the show. Just a heads up, Card Nation. This is episode number, I think, 11 of 17. So there will be 4 episodes next week. This will be the last episode of this week, 4 episodes next week, and then 2 to end out July, the week following, before we get to August 1st on that Friday. Next week, we will have another mailbag. We'll have the final 2 position previews, the cornerbacks and the safeties, and then anything else that ends up happening. So just a reminder to tune in through the rest of the month. But final 3 questions, 2 football, 1 baseball. I think that this first one comes as a reaction to seeing what's going on with Indiana. And for those that don't know, Indiana did what they did last year. Like, they took Louisville off the schedule. They added an FCS team. They did the same thing, but this time they're ducking Virginia. I just don't know. And no disrespect to Virginia, but if you have to take Virginia off your schedule, stop trying to talk to me like you're a championship contender. The only reason you're in the playoff or even in the consideration is because your schedule is that bad. Enough with that tangent that I could go on. The question is, should Louisville follow suit and get rid of the head-to-head with Georgia? And for those that don't know, the Cardinals have a home and home with Georgia starting next year. They play in Louisville in 2026 and then in Athens in 2027. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that taking Georgia off your schedule and taking Virginia off your schedule is like comparing apples to oranges, but the same sort of takeaway is that you're ducking a team. And I just don't think that with how aggressive Brom has been in trying to schedule top teams that he's going to do that. I think that you're going to keep Georgia on the schedule. I think you're going to keep Texas A&M on the schedule for 2028, I think, is when you start that Texas A&M series. You're at Texas A&M. I don't see it happening. Like, it sucks to play Georgia. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's going to be a very, very uphill battle. But truthfully, if you ask me, if this were to get canceled, who would have initiated it? I would say Georgia. And the only reason because of that is because it seems like we're just on an inevitable collision course with the SEC having 9 conference games. And if they do that, I could see a bunch of that conference, taking away their toughest non-con game and then putting in a non-power 4, an FCS team that's going to, give your team an automatic win, basically, because you got 9 conference games. So should Louisville do it? I don't want to play Georgia. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I mean, that I don't like the thought of playing Georgia, especially with how the committee just penalizes the ACC for losing. But I mean, heck, it is an opportunity to show what you're made of. So no, I don't think they should get out of it. Will this be the final year that Louisville has both Isaac Brown and Duke Watson? So we're having this conversation already. I hope not. But I want to say no, because Chris Barclay and Jeff Brom got 2 running backs drafted with Isaac Guerendo and Jawar Jordan. They've shown that you can coexist with another star in this system. You saw it with Texas with Baxter and Blue, and I think was Wisner is the other guy's name. Like, you see it with Singleton and Allen at Penn State, Love and Price at Notre Dame. I'm not going to say it's for sure going to happen that one of them leaves, but I mean, heck, you're going to have to replace a lot of production after this year. A lot of holes to fill. Will you have the money to keep Watson and Brown and also give them a competent roster around them? TBD. I'm going to say, to be an optimist, I'm going to say no, this is not going to be the final year of Duke Watson and Isaac Brown. I think that, running the ball is such a huge focal point for this pro-style offense that I mean, look, I know that you've got some guys that you believe in, like John Maurice Wilder and Lakai Tompkins and even Keywan Brown next season. But at the same time, I mean, like, this is one of the best running back duos in the country already, and these guys haven't even started their sophomore campaigns yet. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Louisville is going to break the bank if they have to keep these guys. Like, the 502 circle is going to do what they have to do to make sure these guys are still in the fold. But I mean, heck, if it's a situation where like Duke Watson wants to go somewhere and be like the feature guy and receive the vast majority of the carries and the touches, well, I mean, it's hard to pitch that that's going to happen when you have Isaac Brown who's getting those carries. So, I mean, it's not set in stone, but I'm not really going to worry about that yet. I'm going to enjoy this 2025 season as much as I can because, I mean, it's shaping up to be an incredible offensive season for the Cardinals. Final question of the mailbag. Thoughts about the baseball team next year? It's early. It's like I said, it's July 17th. The MLB draft was this past weekend and started the week. The Cardinals had Patrick Forbes go in the first round. You know, Jake Monroe and Matt Klein went in the first 6 rounds. Eddie King Jr. and Tucker Biven were like rounds. Well, Eddie King was round 16. I think Tucker Biven was like round 13. I think that most of the guys, or the guys that got drafted, I think are gone. I don't think that any of them are coming back. So next year, you know, you bring Zion Rose back. You've got Lucas Moore, Tig Davis, Alex Alisea, players that you can build around, right? And then some of the younger guys, not younger guys, but guys that didn't play as much. You know, Byram Hott, Jimmy Nugent, Ben Slanker, the freshmen coming in. There's not I don't think it's the end of the addition period yet. Like, I think Louisville's still looking to potentially add some more guys, and you waited to the draft to see, well, are you going to bring some other guys back? Are some other guys going to return? And question is probably not. The rotation next season, I think Ethan Eberle at the moment is probably your projected Friday night starter. Outside of that, you bring Peter Michael back, maybe Jake Bean. The transfer is a player that gets a look. Like, you're bringing some guys in, not to mention, you know, Jake Schweitzer, Wyatt Danielewicz, TJ Schlottiger. You've got some guys coming out of the pen that had some pretty solid seasons. So ultimately, it's a Dan McDonald type year. You know, it's next man up. It's the guys getting developed that weren't playing a ton this year. So every year with Dan McDonald, you know, you hear new names that you hadn't heard about in a while. And I think that's going to be the same case this year. So optimistic about next season, but just way too early for my thoughts at the moment. So that is going to wrap up this Thursday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. We'll take a break until we come back next week. Everyone have a great day, great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. Go Cards.